In a world where everyone is looking for your money up front, doesn't it just make sense to check out a podcast that's looking to give you something for free? Like the music for your content and free music for your film and videos? Look no further. It's the Tim Kulig Free Music Podcast. Well, good morning, and welcome back to the Tim Kulig Free Music Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Kulig, and it is a gorgeous Saturday morning at St. Pete Beach, where I'm about to do a podcast on navigating free music, copyrights, and sync licensing today. I figured this would be the greatest place to do this, and while I'm speaking to you, I am literally watching a dolphin surface and dive off the coast while the waves are crashing around me. It's just breathtaking. Absolutely amazing, stunning. The audio today is going to be littered with waves and wind and my voice. And I think it'll be somewhat meditative because it certainly feels that way to me. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the stuff I do in a little more depth. I know I've brought this up in other episodes, but the truth is that repetition is the mother of skill. Anybody that's interested in the background of a self-publishing composer or content creator understands that you have to reinvigorate yourself daily on all this, because it can be a very solo and sobering experience to create content and music and everything on your own. So knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel for all the things that you do is important, and you have to remind yourself that every day. But one of the big things that people tend to ask me about are the pros and cons of giving it away, of giving a music away, giving it away under Creative Commons. And it's a challenging question to answer because there's so many different points associated with it. But I wanted to get right into it and talk about how, for one, the sheer fact that it increases your exposure and your fan base. Not having a paywall is something that absolutely makes a difference in the world of marketing and promotion of music, or anything else for that matter. Cutting that away and allowing people to be able to get access to your content and your art is paramount. It's paramount to perpetuating your name, your brand, everything. So you want to do that as often and as frequently as possible. And you don't want to hold back on anything that's going to create some kind of monetary interruption to somebody experiencing what you have. So that's super important. You should make that first and foremost. And by design, that allows more people to listen to and enjoy your music, or whatever other thing of kind of art that you're trying to promote. But for me, eliminating that paywall and making people, or giving people the ability to listen to it in multiple different places and platforms. You don't have to be a subscriber to Apple Music or Amazon Music or Spotify or anything like that to listen to my stuff. You can go to filmmusic.io and download it for free and listen to it whenever you want. You can go to YouTube and type in my name and the word topic, and every album I've ever published through DistroKid will show up on that page. And you can listen to it for free. I just want people to listen to it, not sit on a hard drive and do zero work and have zero enjoyment by anyone. Other things that can happen. It allows me to experiment with different ways to distribute it. You know, if I was only signed to, say, like a label like Sony or something, they would have very finite paths of distribution, and that would keep me from being exposed to other audiences because it's only available on certain platforms or in certain ways. So stay away from that if you want your stuff to get propagated everywhere. I'm not so much about live performances and merch, although I probably will sell merch at some point in the future that promotes my name and has like QR codes on it and stuff to perpetuate the brand, and just walk around with shirts with a QR code on it. People just constantly pointing their phones at me. That'll be funny. I've thought about doing that as a marketing tool. So I'm going to try and do that in the future. But, you know, another thing about it being free, everything gets organically spread. You know, people can just point to any page that you're on, any website, any streaming service. Oh, yeah, you got Apple Music? Oh, you should check this artist out, blah, blah, he's pretty good. You know, it doesn't cost you anything more. You're already on that service. You know? Here's a cool thing that's happened recently, is that, you know, on Spotify and on my website and some other places, I have a PayPal button that's like a donation button, but it's also for like the extended licenses and everything. So when somebody needs an extended license, they can just go to my PayPal and pay for it. But I've literally had fans donate and pay for things, and there's nothing associated with what they're donating for, which to me is just brilliant. They literally just either enjoy my music or downloaded a bunch to use for a project that I'm not even aware of, and just as a thank you, just literally just PayPal'd me some money. And sometimes it's pretty significant, you know, which is pretty wild considering, you know, I don't have that requirement. It's just something that somebody felt they needed to do. I'm just very happy about that. Really cool side benefit of giving it away is that it lowers the barrier of entry for new listeners. And again, that comes back to not having any kind of stopgaps as to where the music can be hosted, where people could, you know, how people can listen to it. You know, there's no myopic revenue stream associated with it where you need to get the revenue first. And it just seems dirty at this point. I'm almost at 500 songs, and I just I can't wait to write 500 more. Just so excited about it. This part of it is kind of neat. You know, you can build an email list for future marketing. It's useful for promoting upcoming albums and various releases and stuff. I'm kind of 50-50 on that, only because the challenge I have with the email marketing is that I personally get annoyed with a number of different email subscriptions that I end up signing up for, and then end up getting it too frequently. And I know you can go back in there and make adjustments to how frequently they communicate via email, but I'm on the fence. I'm 50-50. I'll probably eventually do an email thing, which people can, you know, unsubscribe and bow out of at some point if they don't like the frequency of it. But I don't even think I'd be very frequent with it. Probably ping people a couple times a month. I don't want to be annoying, you know. I just know that I'm annoyed by those, even the things that I'm interested in. Like, I start getting this negative connotation to email pings. And, you know, Gen Z and the millennials, they don't, most of them I talk, they don't email. What's that? You know, you need to give me something, text me, you know, or like airdrop it or something like that. They don't have time to go through all that. No, in fact, there's people that have developed ChatGPT agents to literally go through their email inbox and summarize everything because they can't be bothered. And I kind of am getting to that point too. I can't be bothered either. Let's see. There's a lot of. I mean, one of the bullet points is free tools to make distribution easy. Yeah, maybe. there's free stuff in the sense that, most social media sites are pretty free. So you can use that to promote your music and everything. DistroKid might as well be free. I mean, for the biggest plan, I think it's $70 or $80 a year, and you can have unlimited songs to publish. And they give you and assign you ISRC numbers for your music automatically. It's listed, so you're registered. You've got a date stamp on that registration. Somebody tries to take your stuff and say that they produced it. Well, you've got yourself a line in the sand as to when that actually happens. So that's a good thing. But I'm sure there's some other free tools for distribution and everything. I haven't quite gotten there yet. I've been going more traditional and limited online distribution method for now, but pretty soon. I mean, I've already branched out beyond SoundCloud, Pixabay, and FilmMusic.io, in addition to my own site, which will eventually have a library, my whole library on, that's searchable, and you can download from right there and get extended licenses and stuff too. But I've jumped into Jamendo. It's another download site for royalty-free music. And there's a bunch of others too I've been experimenting with and or researching. Just want to make sure none of them do the infamous YouTube content ID violation flag, where it's registered and people either have to be like subscribed to something to be able to use it, or they need some kind of a extended license in order to use it. And I could never in a million years would I do that. I don't register anything with a YouTube content ID for that reason alone. Content creators would lose their minds and never use my stuff again. And that's something you got to consider too, is that, when you're registering and publishing your music, you got to make sure whatever service you're using, you don't select that as an option. If you select that as an option, it becomes problematic for most of the people using it, and they're just gonna distance themselves from your work, and nobody wants that. The idea to all this under the Creative Commons philosophy and the royalty-free philosophy is you want everybody and anyone to be able to take it, use it, and if they can't get you attribution, send you a few bucks. That's basically it. When you don't have lines in the sand as far as how things work and a revenue stream is concerned, you have flexibility in the way, your business model functions. And you have total control over who gets what for your songs, why, everything. So you don't have to go through somebody and say like, well, this person's a friend of mine, they've got a movie and they want to use this and they just want to give me attribution. When you have a traditional distribution model, you have other people that you answer to, and then those people want to cut every time it's being used, and they're not in the business of giving it away and promoting something that they don't make money off of. So that's a challenge that you have to contend with if you don't choose this model. All right, so we talked about pros of giving it away. What about some of the cons? Well, for sure, it's a lot harder to earn direct revenue from recordings when you decide to give it away up front. You don't maintain or enforce that paywall, then all that revenue up front just goes bye-bye. And that's an issue for a lot of people. A lot of people don't gravitate towards that, or that doesn't resonate with a lot of people. They do all this hard work to create these musical masterpieces, and they want to be compensated for it, and understandably so. So that challenges those people, and probably those same people, they also feel like it devalues their music in other people's minds. Listen, if I give this thing away, maybe it's not so great. Most of the time you need to have value to things, monetary value to things for people to feel like it's valuable. That's this weird thing that we just associate with anything that we want. So Why would I want something even the creator doesn't seem to think has value? Well, it has value in other ways. It has value in the way that people experience it. The fact that I want more people to experience it rather than have my hand out first before they can experience it. It just feels counterintuitive to art. Again, I brought up that you have less control over where and how music is distributed. That's a challenge for making your name and your band or your musical title or whatever being known. Income relies completely on performance, merch, and licensing. If you're just giving it away, chances are you're doing something else to maintain your cost of living. So you're doing it for the art, so you're going to be more authentic anyway. I know I'm doing the con section here, but since I'm a little biased as to my model, I'm tending to find the the counter argument within the argument against why I do what I do. So my apologies. This is definitely an aspect, though. Free access does encourage illegal downloading. Look, people can grab your whole catalog and post it somewhere else, even pretend to be you and post it and try to make money on a site, and then you end up getting a content violation because the algorithm picks up that song, and that song has a content ID. So now you got to fight those people. So that can get messy. That can get real messy, especially if people start to really resonate with your music and it's getting a far and wide distribution. So something to consider. It's definitely a con, definitely a big con of the idea of giving it away for free. Making it difficult to create and understand some kind of determination for true market value of your music. I think that's true, but who really knows, to be honest? Like, how do you really know what the value of a song is? Who would have thunk that, Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas song would resonate so much as a modern holiday song, to the point that there's memes about how frustrating it is that it's played constantly during the holidays now. Of course, this is very time specific. There's probably 10, 20 years from now, there'll be some other song that resonates repeatedly year after year, and it's a modern twist on the Christmas song genre. But anyway, I digress. A lot of people won't pay later on, right? So you give it away up front. What incentivizes anybody to pay later? And my counter argument to that would be, it's the same thing with people randomly sending money in PayPal. They see the value of the music and they see that you're giving it freely, and people become fans, and when they become fans, they become emotionally invested, and when they're emotionally invested, they want to see you do well, and knowing that you give it away, people just get compelled to contribute in some way, which is quite remarkable. Human behavior and the kindness and generosity of people cannot be understated in this regard. It's incredibly humbling to see that happen when you don't expect it. You never expected anything. It's pretty wild. Creating incentivizations to purchase, that's like basically saying they're going to get like signed merch or something like that. That's a lot of work. Now you're chasing revenue through a third party means, and it's not just content creation, because content creation always has a net benefit. You're going to have further exposure to you, your brand, everything else. Another con is what it takes to make your music. I happen to have everything I need to master what I need to produce and distribute right in my house. But there's other people that create music that literally have to, give it to somebody else and master and do all the tail end post-production stuff. And, that takes time and money. And, I can understand that those people that have those obligations when creating things, that's a challenge, and it would de-incentivize them from freely distributing it via royalty-free or Creative Commons. So that's definitely something you don't want to contend with if that's your philosophy. I mentioned before, you need supplemental income streams in the case of royalty-free and Creative Commons distribution of your music. And the con here is that, you need that. You can't just subsist on your musical income. But you may not have been able to do that if the musical income was full-time anyway. Breaking out to a level where you're making the kind of money that you don't have to worry about your bills, or everything's covered and everything as a musician, is a challenging feat. It's very doable, but it requires more than just writing music and distributing it. It requires, playing, local gigs or mid-size local gigs, doing covers and paying your bills with that. That's a whole different animal. That's a whole different animal if your intention as a musician, as a composer, as a producer is to only write your own music. I have no real interest in playing covers or in a cover band or, playing other people's songs. I lost interest in that years ago. I like listening to it, other people's stuff, but I'm not compelled to do that. I'm compelled to create whatever's in my mind musically and sonically. Like that's my mission in music for the rest of my life. Now, sync licensing is an interesting one because this works whether you give it away for free or not, whatever. Usually it's for the rights to put it in a major motion picture. Not even a major motion picture. It could be a low-budget indie film, micro-budget, no-budget, anything in between, But it just secures the rights to sync it to that project or medium. And since that project or medium will be in multiple places, quote-unquote, across the universe, they use this crazy terminology in this licensing documents, but it basically means like, hey, we might splice dice, do this all sorts of different ways, and distribute it as something similar in content, but among the same project. So they basically are like, look, just to avoid any of the legal problems of is it the same project, blah blah, we're just going to do this, we're going to pay for this license and be done with it. And usually companies that don't want to have any kind of an issue legally down the road are the ones that choose that as an option. So, but it provides upfront fee and back end royalties to something that otherwise you wouldn't have had a revenue stream for, which is really freaking cool. So it's a great way to earn revenue and gain exposure that way as well. It is a very competitive market, so chances are you won't be getting sync licenses in situations where you're an unknown or a semi-known that hasn't had a breakout song that's done millions upon millions of spins online or anything. Like that's kind of a larger exposure type of situation where that's you're not going to get the kind of offer like that unless maybe you went viral and one of your songs was trending heavily and you're otherwise an unknown. Other than that, like, you've probably got to be in the game for a little while before it actually works out to your favor in that regards. It does open doors for more sync licensing in the future once you've established and managed to do one. It's one of those things that kind of, it's almost like being in a B movie with some A-listers, and now your acting and prowess is associated with that level of actor or actress, and now people are looking at you a little differently because you're in a minor or semi-major role of a mid to upper level production in Hollywood, stuff like that. Anyway, it's good for exposing yourself to negotiations and stuff in this industry, because that is something that you need to get practice in, when it comes to establishing value for yourself for like the sync licensing opportunity or other opportunities where a company will pay up front a fee or pay royalties for the use of something. So you want to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and be able to negotiate for yourself, or at least if you have somebody else working on your behalf, to have some understanding of how that all works, so that you can have an intelligent conversation about what decisions are being made either on your own or on your behalf. That company that you end up syncing with, they tend to handle most of the paperwork, and in most cases, as long as you're not signing away rights or anything dumb like that, it's limited. There should be like a limited use sync license and attach it to the name of the project, and it's whatever the licensing time frame that you want. If it's in perpetuity for that project, that's fine, or if it's a limited scope, make sure that you establish that and that language is in the document. You should have yourself covered. But if you ever feel like you don't fully understand what you're signing, never do that. Always have somebody else look at it, preferably somebody with law experience or a lawyer. Sync licensing definitely gives you the chance for millions of people to hear your music. I mean, popular shows put music in front of engaged audiences, and also very popular movies, or movies, like I said earlier, with B+ A-listers in it. People are going to start associating your music with a much higher caliber once something like that takes place. And by design, over time, you'll likely get more opportunities because of that. It's the whole reason that marketing and advertising works. You take a pro athlete and put them next to your sports drink or your socks or something like that, and now all of a sudden those things that had no value have, by juxtaposition, acquired the value of the popular thing that you have next to it. So it's such an overlooked but very simple and direct and effective tactic to assigning value to something. And like I said, syncing your music to something that a lot of people highly value is just gonna perpetuate your brand and make you more popular and get your music into the ears of a lot more people. What also happens when you work with folks doing sync licensing is that the uppers in industry start to notice who you are. Directors, music supervisors, anybody that's in a decision-making matrix in the film and TV or online content area in space, they're gonna give a second glance at you. if you've been in some major productions, like, oh, okay, I know so-and-so and he values your work, maybe I should take a look at it, having a TV or an ad placement, TV show or a TV ad or online ad or online show, whatever, if it's some major streaming platform, it's a badge of legitimacy. It means that, again, going back to the previous statement about directors, given a second look, it's going to make you stand out as someone who's arrived on some level, that you've been able to get your music into, A, B, and C. Oh, okay. You're not just doing these, no budget promo, you're not scoring some movie that isn't going anywhere. And I don't say, that's unfair to say too. Any art, I think, personally, is worthy of being done. You got a story to tell, you got a song to write, you got a painting, paint, do it. Do it all and do it often. All I'm saying is that, it's the legitimacy comes with time. That's it. Yeah, I was going to talk about extended licenses today, but I think I'm going to save that for another episode, because that's a little more complex in the sense that it's kind of a limited sync, but it also has some licensure that I think warrants a little more research and discovery on. So, with that said, this relaxing episode, I'm sure my voice is reflective of all that, just staring out at the ocean. I'm sure you can hear the seagulls and the waves crashing, the sound of the earth breathing in and out. It's just very, very calming and very centering. I'd like to thank you all once again for stopping in to the Tim Kulik Free Music Podcast. We'll see you next time.